Hi there everybody, this is Alex or RCG Blade, and yesterday I finally completed 100%ing the newest Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 9 or Resident Evil Requiem, depending on your preferences. And I gotta say, the road to 100% completion on this game was quite a journey. It was a journey filled with really brutal moments. It was also a journey filled with epic success, and as a result and as a whole, I am sort of mixed on this game. I'm gonna get into my reasoning why. I don't just want to come off as someone who's just, talking out of their ass, trying to be different, because while I acknowledge the game is getting really rave reviews, and there's definitely, and I mean definitely, a lot to rave about, the game still has some glaring issues that I'm going to bring up just in case no one else is. Alright, let's get right into the good of the game, the things that I think Resident Evil Requiem absolutely nails in execution. First and foremost, this has to be one of the most immersive games I have ever played. Now, I think it goes a long way playing Grace in first person versus third. I know that the developers intended for Grace to be played in first person and Leon to be played in third person. And that's not an assumption. The game tells you right off of the rip, hey, here's how we want you to play it. Play it however you want, but this is what we intended and developed for you to experience. Playing in first person as Grace is incredibly immersive. Whether you have great lighting effects when you're using a lighter or a flashlight, or you've just got really great detail, attention to detail. And I'll talk a little bit more about the attention to detail later. There are some iffy bits, but overall, the visual presentation of the game, from the design, the modeling, the layouts, the lighting, the way everything just comes together and works, it's truly a graphical achievement, I would say. It's a very beautifully presented game. And the game still looks great in third person. In fact, there are some things in third person that you will never witness in first person as Grace. For example, you won't be able to appreciate the new hair lighting technology they've got, where light can kind of pass through the hair on the sides, right? It really glows, and I'll have an example on screen here. I don't know why I'm even bothering to explain this in so much detail, but it goes a long way in selling the visual presentation as a lot more lifelike. And this is going to sound a little weird, but there are a lot of moments where Grace is covered in sweat and grime and tears, and the reflections on her skin are just genuinely really lifelike. I was very impressed by their rendering. Continuing on with Grace, although this is also the case for Leon, no doubt, great voice acting. The girl who voice acted Grace, unfortunately I don't have her name handy, I'll have it on the screen here. She did a absolutely phenomenal job voicing Grace. Voicing Grace isn't just your standard voice actor's gig, right? Like, for example, with Leon and Nick, who is the voice actor for Leon. Grace has a stutter, and it's a very pronounced stutter. And given all the shit she's going through in this game, her stutter is presenting itself. It's manifesting a lot more than probably it normally would. And, she sells it compellingly. It never feels goofy or overdone. It doesn't feel unserious. It just feels like a part of this character that you're expected to believe. And I do genuinely believe it. She sells it completely. She sells the fear. She sells the anger. She sells the guilt. Just overall, and I'm sure everybody is saying this, just an incredible voice performance from her. And for Leon with Nick, still a really great job. You really can tell that Nick is a capable voice actor because the voice he has for Leon in RE2, the voice he has for Leon in RE4, and the voice he's got now for Leon in RE9 are all distinct, and they make sense. They're a logical evolution, right? In RE2 Remake, you got Leon, who's this bright-eyed rookie cop, ready to make change in the world, and he is immediately shit out. No, you're not gonna do that, buddy. And RE4, he's a little more grizzled, he's a little more gruff. He's seen a bit more, he's done a bit more, he's realizing more and more the ways of this world, and it's affecting him, it's weighing down on him. And then in Resident Evil 9, we experience a Leon who is pretty much at the end of his rope. He's depressed, clearly. He's got a lot of regret that he's living with. He carries a lot of ghosts, a lot of skeletons in his closet from the raccoon incident. Just a lot of, like I said, regret. This game is about two things. It's about hopes and it's about regrets. And I think that Leon does a great job of showcasing that dichotomy. Animations are great across the board. I liked that in third person, Grace will stumble when she's doing a full-on sprint. It's something you don't see in first person, but you move a little slower in first person, at least from my perspective / experience. The zombies in particular are done excellently. They are super rigid and random in their movements, right? Like they have that stiff sort of shuffle to them, like they're going through rigor mortis. But every once in a while, they'll hit you with like a back step, or they'll lean down to the left or to the right, or it can get really, really tough. You got enemies essentially doing breakdances on you, and it can be really hard to land a headshot. I also really appreciate just how diverse all the zombies are, at least in Grace's section. As a hint of the bad, I thought that Grace's sections were, for the most part, phenomenal. Excellently crafted, like great. The scripted moments work really well. Like I said, the immersion is unparalleled. It's super awesome. But the zombies in Grace's sections are all unique. Like there are two of some, right? Like you've got two zombies who are like these sort of concierge zombies, and they will freak out if there's a light left on. They have to go over to that light switch and flick it off. So you can use that to get around them. It's just a cool little character bit. It's nice to see the zombies, because these zombies were once people. It's really cool to see them have a bit of personality still, and not just be like cop number 50 in the RPD. You've also got a chef zombie who's a fully unique character. You've got two singing zombies who have their own notes explaining what's going on with them, and in that extent they're unique, but of course there's two of them. They do the same things. I can understand that they're not fully unique, but just having like this level of a cast of zombies in a Resident Evil game is, first off, unprecedented, and second of all, I think it works absolutely phenomenally. Like it's really awesome. It helps immerse you even further, and it's something that I really want to see continued going into further RE games. And now the bad part of those unique zombies is that quite literally all of that is done away with the second you start playing as Leon. In every Leon encounter, all the zombies are generic, and it gets even worse in the second half of the game, where they literally all just become pale gray nothing. Like they lose all of their diversity, and I find that it makes Leon's sections a little bit worse for wear. But before we go into the bad, let's just round out the rest of the positives. I liked the sound design for the most part. I think that the zombie speaking was a really cool idea, and I think that sound design really helps to immerse you further. I like that you get different gameplay. You get Grace's more RE7, RE2 kind of like spookier horror, and then Leon has like full-on RE4, RE6. I would say it's a mix of RE4 and RE6 levels of action, for better or for worse. I personally am not a huge fan of that kind of gameplay. I love Resident Evil 4, but this game takes it a step further. It goes into something that RE5 does that I really didn't like, and we'll get into that later. And lastly, I really appreciated the difference in the crafting system. They obviously could have just reused the crafting system, but the way it works for Grace is she has to craft using infected blood, and she gets a blood collector pretty early on into her section, and she actually has to crouch down and salvage the blood from the corpses in order to get it. And so you can't just be Leon and spam interact as you're running by a body that you just killed to pick up your ammo or gunpowder. You have to consciously in real time crouch down, make yourself vulnerable to attack, and suck up some blood. Like, it's very in your face, it's very grotesque, and it makes you vulnerable, which I think just all really ties into Grace's sections of gameplay very, very well. All right, now let's get on to the bad. First and foremost, this is probably the most controversial thing. The game is filled with AI textures. Now, I don't know if these are full-on AI generated textures or if these are just AI upscaled textures. I'm going to lean towards AI generated, if not fully, partially, because you will find loads of text in this game that is not any language on Earth. It's just jarbled symbols, very clearly, like I said, either ran through an AI upscaler or just full-on generated by an AI. And it wasn't a great AI, I have to say. I'll include some examples of these on the screen right now. It was hard to see, especially after just paying nearly 100 Canadian dollars for a game to then see all these AI textures. When, honestly, I love being able to read the environmental decor. I like reading posters on the walls. I like seeing what the reward is for the missing cat. I like seeing what band is going to be playing at the bar nearby, right? Like, I enjoy those little details, and it sucks because this game has so much attention to detail, but then you get what is clearly non-human graphics and art, right? Like I don't want to see AI generated shit if I'm paying $100 for this experience. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, especially from a huge company with loads of resources like Capcom. Now, in terms of the audio, there was a bit of a weird problem I've seen a couple people pick up on. It seems like their audio mixing is off, specifically for the voices. The voices seem to have too much treble in the mix and not enough bass, which leads to a sort of, I don't know how else to describe this, but like a tinny sort of audio effect, right? Like it's a little piercing to the ears. So, I mean, that could be fixed rather easily with just a new vocal mix, but it was something I noticed. There was a couple pacing issues, a couple moments where the game kind of becomes a bit of a slog. The way that the Grace and Leon mechanics work is usually you play up until this huge reveal as Grace, and then you're immediately switched over to Leon, and then you have a cool action moment as Leon, and then you're switched back to Grace, and then you have the crazy reveal as Grace, and then you switch back to Leon, action segment, switch back to Grace, until halfway through the game when it pretty much becomes exclusively Leon. It could be a bit jarring going from huge reveal and then suddenly you're just playing as Leon. You don't get to follow up on that story beat for, maybe an hour. But I gotta say, it at least was nice being able to switch up the gameplay here and there. Once you get into the second half of the game and it's almost exclusively Leon, this is where the pacing really struggles in my opinion, especially on a replay. And speaking of replays, this game has a bit of a replayability / speedrun ability problem, and it's one that RE7 also had, interestingly enough. RE7 begins at the guest house, and you have to go through this big scripted segment, no enemies, you're just going through stuff. It's sort of like a tutorial. This game also has segments like that, and they're unskippable, even on a replay. I know a lot of people asked Capcom for years to add an ability to skip the beginning intro segment of RE7. They never did. I don't think they'll add any kind of functionality like that for this game, but it definitely affects the replayability. And it's very confusing to me because Capcom knows just how much people enjoy speedrunning these games. In fact, there's a certain amount of the games that are literally made for speedrunners, as is evidenced by the always present speedrunning challenge you can find in any modern Resident Evil game. So the fact that I can't skip some of these sections that don't even give you a challenge, they're literally just walking simulator moments, it's a bit confusing as to why Capcom still hasn't learned and allowed us to be able to skip those on a replay. Now here is probably my biggest issue, aside from anything gameplay or AI related. This one, the Resident Evil fan in me just genuinely does not understand the vision here. I'm going to give you all a warning. This next section is going to be a bit spoilery, so if you want to go into the game, and I do recommend just go into it without any spoilers. And in the spirit of that, I'll just say right now, my score for the game right now is a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe an 8 out of 10. It'll depend. But I'm currently sitting at like a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. But anyway, so spoiler warning, I'm going to get into some more detail and specifics here. The scope of this story is absurdly small, which makes no sense. It's this huge grand story. It involves the government, it involves the ghosts of Umbrella, it involves Leon, it involves Sherry Birkin, who we heard in a trailer. It involves this new character Grace and her mother Alyssa, who's a legacy character from Outbreak. So why is it then, especially with this Umbrella's curse that we have, where people who were exposed to the T-virus have long-lasting effects that take a while to manifest, and it seems like it's got an 100% fatality rate, why do we have no mention whatsoever of Claire? First off, Claire being the essentially adoptive mother of Sherry. Zero mention of Claire, which is bizarre. Zero mention of Jill. Like, zero mention of Ada. Like, what is going on, Capcom? This is your huge, 30th anniversary game. It's Resident Evil 9. This is a big achievement for you guys. It's the end of your modern trilogy, which has had unprecedented success. What are you guys doing? Like, why is there not, a file on, Ada or Jill or Claire? No mention of, hey, I know we have Umbrella's curse, but we're going to find the cure for us and for Claire, or for us and for all these other characters. It's just strange to bring up these plot points and these threads, but then not mention any of these other characters. And frankly, I didn't find the return to Raccoon City to be too, like, emotionally satisfying, because, like, the person who we're returning to Raccoon City as literally spent one day in their entire life in Raccoon City. Leon Kennedy spent one fucking day of his whole life in Raccoon City. He has zero nostalgia for that town, right? Like, Jill lived in Raccoon City. It makes sense. Claire's brother was a police officer in Raccoon City. He lived in Raccoon City, right? Chris. So these characters who have honestly a better connection to Raccoon City to then have been completely sidelined just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And now here's where we get into the actual spoiler territory. Dude, this game just straight up reuses boss fights. Like, it's not good. Like, I don't appreciate it. Like, I don't know. The fact that we have to fight Mr. X again, and he's a super tyrant again, and we just had that in 2019. Strange. The fact that the final boss fight is literally just Nemesis from RE3 Remake. How are you gonna have your final boss be a carbon copy of another boss that we just fought? Like, dude, I don't even think it's been 5 years since RE3 Remake, and we're already doing the exact same boss fight again. Guys, again, you're gonna charge 100 Canadian, you know, like 70, 80 US dollars. Put a little bit more effort in, right? Like, don't use AI, don't reuse boss fights. And there are actual, like, gameplay sections that are also very clearly reused. And my biggest fucking pet peeve with this game, there are zombies that shoot you. What? Like, the Ganados, I can understand because they weren't zombies. The Ganados were just humans infested with a parasite, right? They still had their motor functions, their finer motor functions. Dog, there's T-virus, like normal T-virus infected zombies in this game that are just shooting you with guns, carrying grenades, and operating mortar cannons. There should not be a fucking zombie on a heavy artillery, dog. What are we doing? And none of the zombies from the original Outbreak were able to use weapons, but these ones suddenly can, right? Like, I understand the ones from the care center, because those zombies clearly have a different kind of T-virus, right? It's different because it manifests differently. They talk, they keep more of their personality, they use their tools, right? Makes sense. You've got regular zombies in Raccoon City hauling ass through fire and flames to pick up a chainsaw to use the chainsaw on you. Like, gameplay wise, sure. I personally don't enjoy gameplay of fucking zombies shooting back at me, but like lore wise, what? It just doesn't make any sense. And I know I've kind of gone on a bit of a ramble here, but like, it genuinely, I do not enjoy it. I don't enjoy the mortar section. I don't enjoy the zombies carrying grenades. I don't enjoy the zombies spraying at me with fucking Mac 10s. Like, I don't know. To me, that's not Resident Evil. That's too far gone. If it were like a infected person, like a Plagas parasite, at least lore-wise, it makes sense. But this just genuinely makes zero sense. And my final criticism, and this one obviously, again, since we're in the spoiler section, this one's got major spoilers. Man, did they not even try on having two endings, which is very disappointing. There's a very obvious good and a very obvious bad ending, but I really was left with a bad impression from the bad ending, because the bad ending is quite literally, you do it, the bad part happens, and then Grace says, man, I wish I chose the other ending, and then the game ends and says, hey, do you want to reload and do the actual ending? Like, why even give us two endings if A, there's nothing to the second ending? It's just like, oh, here's Leon, watch him get killed, which at first I thought this was the real ending, and I actually was impressed with Capcom's balls. I was like, you know what, like, Leon went down swinging, I respect it. Oh wait, we're already at credits? Oh wait, this was the bad ending? Oh, they saved me a save so I can do the actual ending? Like, I don't know, if you're gonna have two endings, commit, make it an actual full ending. Don't make it like a fake out ending. That's kind of this pussy shit. And the true ending, there's some stuff I don't really like about it. It's a little too happy-go-lucky. And I get that the game is about hope and it's about saving people, but don't give me any bullshit about Leon not hitting Emily's vitals. Dog. What? We see her body, like her original body, transform into the monster, and yet at the end of the game, her normal body is just perfectly encompassed? No, we saw her fingers start to stretch, dude. Like, that's not how infections work in Resident Evil. It just felt like way too cheap, like they wanted to have their cake and eat it too, and I didn't really appreciate the endings, either of the endings, frankly. Anyway, all the spoiler folks, thanks for sticking in there. Thank you all for listening to me ramble. Like I said, I'd probably give this game at this moment in time like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. I hope I have explained my reasoning well enough. If you enjoyed the game, I'm happy for you. I wish I enjoyed the game more. I just don't. I still do enjoy it overall. Like, it's still a positive experience, and I recommend you all play it. Maybe just wait for a sale. But I hope this isn't a sign of things to come from Capcom in terms of AI textures and unskippable walking simulator portions and endings that just did not feel worth it. Anyway, I have been Alex or RCG Blade. Thank you all very much for joining me for another video. I still had a lot of fun playing this game, and if you play it, I hope you have fun too. As always, take care everybody. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one.